Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your homeboy E Short in his man room hanging out with my brother Les Miller. It's the E&L Sports Talk Show. What's going on, Les?
E, what's happening, baby? I'm good, man.
Yeah, I hear
How
you.
you doing?
I'm good, man. Just so I let like when he really get rolling with this, Les and I were talking and wanted to do like a one-on-one with just us. Um, no guests. And speaking to some issues that we know that are readily probably going on in our community or in everyone's lives, and that's their mental health. And this being that we do sports topics, this is basically talking about our B-ball brothers and mental health, and we're going to cover a couple of things here, just shooting from the hip, and hopefully the information that we're going to share is just letting everybody basically know that you got somebody's got your back, find them, and keep your head up, so to speak. So, am I missing some less?
Nah, you right on point, baby. That
Yeah,
was that was the whole idea about
yo, you just froze.
going on in our lives and things that are bothering us sometimes until it's too late. And especially as black men, but just men in general, But I think we need to be more open about how we feel about things and things that have happened in our lives that brought us to this to where we are today, the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Right,
So,
right, yeah,
you know,
and it's hard, man, because a lot of times, man, when I just think back, like back in the day, and like what the journey was like, um it set the precedent for everything that's going on for us, is because we became athletes and the community we grew up in, and life is happening, right? And
hmm
right before we
yeah,
started the shows, talking about our beginnings with Rogers Avenue, PS 92, first coach ever, our parents, people in the neighborhood. um it set some ground rules for us, and I carry that with me, you know everything, I mean, I try as best as I can, my experiences and everything I went through, that's all part of who I am right now, and
yes,
but the other part of it is kind of like life happens,
hmm
and it can be very tough, man. And oddly enough, um when you mention this, what you wanted to do this week, like 20 minutes later, I was watching Ryan Clark, man, and they were talking about the PTSD, and you
hmm
know, um, you got to understand, and people don't. And like one of them said, you don't have uh the regular guy walking, through Target or Walmart or into the train station or getting on a plane, who was trained and taught that it was important to throw his head upon somebody's chest and tackle them,
hmm
like trying to, like, knock them down. Like the
right,
average person has never experienced that in the sense of the training of it,
right, right, right.
and a lot of that gets lost because people go on, and I have like a very weird view about this, Les, man, and it's kind of crazy, man. But
hmm
and just dealing with that and dealing with your experiences, and when it came to a halt or when there were bumps in the road, all of those experiences, then when there were successes, you know but what triggers everything really is when it stops,
Right, right.
you know, when it stops, man. And I just thought about that just now. Like,
hmm
there's a level of, I guess, that you have to deal with, like during, but the post part of, your playing days, whether it happened after high school or whether it happened after college or whatever the case may be, when it stops, and things change, you're carrying that with you as well, you know. And um and it's hard, man. I mean, I don't know if how difficult you think it is though.
Well, you know what though, it's definitely hard, and I mean, especially when you stop and then you start having health issues, you know, because that happened to me when I mean, I can start off with, when my son was born, was stillborn, and first time I ever went to counseling, and you know that was a rude awakening. But I know I needed it, and I know my wife needed it,
Right.
you know. And then 3 years later, we have Alyssa, and that's when I was 40 years old, and that's when I stopped playing basketball competitively. And then maybe it was 8 months later, all of a sudden, hypertension rears its head, because I was in great shape. I guess it kind of hit it, but everybody in my family had it. You know what I mean? It's almost like hereditary sometimes.
Right.
The diet, your upbringing, all that kind of stuff. And I went through a hard time with that, man. And then trying to get back in shape. But I mean, I've been on these medications, man, since I was 40, and I'm 67 now, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So,
Yeah. And people don't understand. And I'm not taking anything. And let's start out like this, kind of like the disclaimer. I'm not taking anything away from anyone, and I'm not categorizing others who
mhm,
we're not kind of like really focusing on. Kind of like
mhm.
talking about athletes, and no disrespect to everybody else, and I
Right,
apologize, but I just want them to understand that, like, the at least for us, uh, the trauma of what we're referring to and how we deal with it, um, it's a big burden. And you also, and these are all the ingredients of where we're at right now, all the
right.
ingredients that caused where we how we dealt with it, and those
Mhm.
experiences, and how one was a positive, one was a negative. I mean, it's like these roller coaster things. But what's carried around with you and is hovering over it all, the time of the playing time, it was such a different it was a different world for you. You were
Right, right,
playing,
right.
and even at the adolescent age, and people that are younger now and hearing this, the experiences like that we had is very similar to what you see now. We were that leveled players where we were seen in that manner in
Mhm.
our areas of where we grew up at. And so you gain those things, and that's our ego. That feeds our ego, right? Because now
Yeah.
you're a great ball player. You da, 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 even you're average ball player, or you played no matter what. And so that ego, because you've learned the skill sets of being an athlete and a basketball player. So what
Mhm.
that creates inside you, you're carrying that with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely,
Everything you
absolutely.
do, and it's like, and so, like, the stillborn situation. How did you what did you do to get through that? You know, and
Man,
not to say that it ended, but
right.
what was it that like really made you hunker down and get through it? Because you got through it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, a lot of prayer for one, but the thing that got me through it was the fact that I actually saw somebody that looked just like me. Because we had like two or three miscarriages before, and this one I actually saw this little guy. He had these big hands. He had this big nose. I knew that was my child. You know, and
the nose, yes.
yeah. So that was that's what I got out of it. My wife, she was not into like cremation, but I said, do you know what they're gonna do with this body? They're gonna use it to find out other things and blase blase. I said, I'd rather have him with me. And then she was still, that's the medical side of her. She was like, well, that's a good thing. And then at the last minute, she agreed with me. So, he's in my room, man, in a little angel urn, man,
Mm,
because
yeah.
um, I
And you
kiss his.
hold on to that. And you hold on to
Uh,
that. Man. Yeah, and you hold on to that. You
yeah,
know.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
That's
it's
part of my
and
morning.
it's not like a monument to him, but
Right.
it's like it's the memory of him
That's it.
that you made a conscious decision. That's how you want to hold on to his memory.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like you said, there's other things people you know what they're gonna do with him like that. You don't want to have that memory. So you put your foot down in your foot as far as your feelings are concerned and your knowledge,
right.
and prospectively, you're like, this is what I want. This is what's
Yeah,
gonna get me through this, man. And
yeah,
and
yeah.
the other side well, the other part that you got to carry is like one thing that you're talking about your own health, but now we're talking about an offspring, which
Hmm.
brings up, you know, a whole lot of different emotions and feelings. If you're a normal person, you're gonna that is a catastrophic event,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and
And you remember when that happened?
yeah,
Even
but you hold, but that's the other thing though. And this is going to be part of our conversation. I just throw this into your description is your circle, and then the circle for the circle, and the circle for the circle of the circle, and
Mhm.
who found out. It's like, and that's a
Right,
responsibility for everyone else. So I
right.
understand your feelings, right? And that's the other thing that's on the Ryan Clark piece was you got to reach out these people, man. Like people, just anything, man. Like and it wears, and not to get off of you, Les, but for me, it wears on me. I always say nobody's gonna listen until maybe I'm dead and gone. Nobody has no idea how I feel, because I control it, man. I got the controller in my hand.
Hmm.
I had one in the asked you if it's funny. Um, but yeah, I have the control. So I tone some things down. And the old saying, when things get bad, and not for your situation, but there are some situations that have happened in people's lives where you just gotta say, you know what, fuck it. You just have to say that because you can't hold on to this. That and your situation, that situation that was totally the other side. But I'm just saying it's another tool that you have. You have to say, fuck it, and leave it alone. It's not worth it
Hmm.
and so just all of those things for me, that's what I use as controls. But that might be a suggestion to you, as like I said, the circle, and getting back on your situation as part of the circle, that a friend might come over here and say, hey, you know what, let's, you guys say, you gotta get away from this, fuck that, or, the hell with that, man, let's do something different or whatever. In this case here, it was like, whatever you need, I don't care what it is, call, what, we've always been like
Right,
that.
right, right.
I'm sure there are other people, that reached out, that were aware, that hearts were in the right place, that care enough, that extended, a possible lifeline for you if you needed it. You just wanted to
Absolutely,
talk.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and I always say this, man. There's 7 billion plus people on this planet. You don't have like 5 people you can talk to. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, I talk to everybody, man. So,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's another tool, and it's funny we're saying that because I know you, man, and you're not that kind of person. You're not going to go and just start conversations with people. You're a little bit more reserved. You know me, I'm the wild card, right? But
Hmm.
but that sometimes you got to go out of your comfort zone. Um, and then the other thing is like your own emotions, man, the tears and the hurt, man, the pain from the heart that
Yeah,
occurs from something like that. Man, you got to manage that too. And then it's kind of like everyone's always saying, well, you'll get through this. All those comments, those pattern
right.
paragraph statements they don't have no feeling with it, you know.
Yo, when people say to me, "Oh, well, you say, well, oh, you're young, you can have more kids, right?"
I
I was
hate
like,
that.
first of all, you don't know how young I am, as I wasn't, and you don't have no idea what my situation is, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to explain to you.
Right, right.
I just let
And
it
and
go.
that's why, yeah, and that's unfair comment on their part, man. But yeah, yeah, yeah. But you read that and you read it for what it is.
I know they meant well.
Yeah,
Most of the
yeah,
people that
yeah,
said those things, they meant
yeah,
well, but they just didn't know.
yeah.
So I just let it go.
Yeah, but that's what they meant well. But little do they know, and little do they understand. that's not what you needed, you know? And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It's like as an outsider of the person who's in hurt or pain, it's kind of like to me, before I open, and sometimes I have put my foot, well, a lot of times I put my foot in my mouth and said things that might have ended up sounding like maybe insensitive or didn't give my true feelings. But you
Mm,
know me, Les, I wear my emotion on my sleeve. So I'm going to speak my heart, but I got to know how to say it that's going to be beneficial to that person. I give it that extra thought. That person that I'm talking to deserves that. They
mm,
don't need like a just pseudo, hey, it's okay, buddy, you know. They don't need that. They need sometimes you need some tough love and grab a person, give them a hug, man. And even when you're fighting, man, even your opponent, you know, even that, and that's another thing. The way that you are as a person, as an athlete, yeah, that's your personality. You're
mm,
most likely. And
mm.
you know the feelings the of cheer when you're happy and you know you're winning and or whatever something great happens and you know the agony of defeat. I saw that this morning. The guy saying like the why roller sports, the thrill of victory and agony of defeat. That
Yeah.
old thing, that old you know opening and but that's your life. That's people's lives, man. You wake up in the morning, everything's great. Hour and a half later, man, you're on the highway and somebody then crashed into you. You know,
Mm,
I mean, things change that quickly, man.
yep, 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 yep.
And every experience was like that. They were abrupt. Even the
Mm,
good ones, they were abrupt things. All of a sudden, boom, you know, I won the lottery, boom. Like, you know, I'm saying like it's an abrupt thing that happens.
yeah.
You know, a death of somebody, you know, so a breakup that you hear of somebody or somebody else's, you know, sadness. You pick that up as well,
Yeah.
man.
Hmm.
But your mental health gets thrown all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to manage that, you know.
Yeah, man. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. It's uh, my mom was 100 years old, man, and it's I thank her all the time for showing me how to pray. Because that's what gets me through, man. Whenever my mind just like goes somewhere else in a dark place, man, I just say this one prayer, like the spirit of the Lord goes before me, make me safe, happy, and successful my way. Amen. She taught me that prayer to the
Mm,
point where I probably say it 50 times a day when I'm driving, when sometimes just something comes in my head that I want to do that I know I shouldn't do, I just say it so it gets out of my head,
mm,
and it's it's just a part of me now. It's like I know God said, "Yo, man, I heard you say it the first 30 times a day," you know, and I laughed to myself, But it's one of those things, man, that's inbred in me, and that's how I get myself to be okay sometimes.
right. Mm. Yeah, and it's difficult for some people. All right, well, for me, I'm not very spirit. I'm just not very spiritual. Everybody knows that. If they don't, they know now. Um, it's my heart, man, and I know the right from wrong, and I it's kind of like you know the spell of the information and the wisdom that I have. I revert to it all the time because I know the decisions and things that I've learned. They'll teach me to get through all of this without asking for the Lord to you know to intervene because I until I think I need Him. Which there have been times where you know that mindset went out the window and I went directly you know to the man above and so it's kind of like I manage it to kind of like say in my mind, that's I he gave me the skills to get through this. And
But
that's
you
what
know what,
and I
man,
and I'm ridiculously a strong believer in my capabilities of doing that. And so and I
I
talked
don't
to
hold on. First of all, I think you are spiritual. I don't think you're religious. There's a
mhm.
difference.
Right. No, yeah, I agree.
So
You're
you're
right. Yeah,
spiritual, but you're not
yeah,
religious, and
yeah.
that's I'm just talking about all spirituality, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm both. I'm
Right.
both. So
Right. Yeah, I understand, I stand corrected. Thank you.
yeah.
You know, but and you're right though. And so for me, it's like I before I turn to that direction for that level of guidance, I think that the most things that happen on the planet, other than my health issues,
Hmm.
that I have a little bit, I have some responsibility there too. You know, and you know, it's kind of like all the, you know, like those I guess 8 different bottles of you know medications that I take now for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's easy to do, and manage that, and that's my job to do that and to see if there's value. If I see it's
Absolutely.
causing a problem, or whatever the case may be, I'll, I'm not going to do it, and so, but when I needed him, and that date is coming up, August 24th, man. When I needed him, there was no personal what I have to do now. It's like it's up to him. And um I trust and believe that I trusted and believed in him then. When he got me through that, now it's my job. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like that, it's kind of like the coach can't help you make foul shots. You got to do it. You're on the line. You're on
Mhm.
the line. I always revert to sports in that mindset. Like,
Absolutely.
what would I do? What would I think the Lord would want me to do if He was my coach? It's like take the charge. Man. Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the guidance and the rule book that I need to go if I the table of contents. If I really need to understand something that I don't know, I'll
Mhm.
turn to him because he'll give me the understanding for that. But up
Mhm.
to now, a lot of things that I had to deal with, I felt that I could handle, and so it turns out I was right. I was right a lot of times, and a lot of times you make the wrong decisions. But and that's the other thing is this, you
Mhm.
know, listen, man, listen to people, and um, that's real important,
Mhm.
And it's funny because we have both skill sets, right? Listeners as well as one who can speak and express ourselves. So
Right. Right.
mental health has a lot to do with you expressing yourself, but also listening, you know. And sometimes somebody else might have just went what you went through a day before,
Mhm.
and but if you don't know, the guy could be standing right next to you or on the bus. You ride on the bus with the guy, or whatever. See him in a gas station, and you just strike with conversation. Um, and I swear it happened to me. I think it was Thursday in a store. Getting by some pool products. Lady and this guy were pushing some. They had the same pool products,
Mhm.
and they were like, oh, well, I don't know if we got everything right. And so I walked by and I was like, here we go again, right? And it's the woman turned to me. She's like, you have no idea. I'm having so much problems with this damn pool. But she gave me like a 15-minute, explanation of what her problem is. I said, use your pump as a filter as well as a pump to
Mhm.
fix your problem, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, if I didn't stop and just say, here we go again, that would have
Mhm.
never happened. And I
Right.
took it in the right direction. And, but that's the value of, being able to communicate with somebody. And, and sometimes it helps you helping somebody else,
Absolutely.
and I know when my mother-in-law passed away, man, I talk about my mother every day to my wife every day, and you know, loss, man. That once again, the mental health, man, how it stabs
Yep.
you.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, it just burns, man, and people say, well, she was a great this and then all of that. And it's like, well, but my experiences are personal in my heart of that person. And nobody seems to be able to help me through it. Nobody. And I had the
Mhm.
same problem when it happened to Mark, Tony, and my father and my mom.
Yeah.
Like I had that same kind of, defined loss that I just carry it constantly, man. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like being the only guy left in the platoon. Everybody's been killed off. You're the only
Mhm.
one left. You know,
Yeah,
and
but I think like loss of life, man. I got to deal with it at an early age because I was my father's wingman, right? So my mom didn't like to go to the wakes and stuff, but my father, he was representing the family, and he would drag me along. And I never understood for a while, man, why it's like they're at a wake and then they're laughing and joking and da da da. And then after a few times, I realized that because it's a celebration of life. So they were rehashing old stories, things like that about that person, you know. And then when I had to put him away, it was just hearing people like I think it was Greg Hayes, man. He's like, "Yo, man, your pops, man, he took me to my first Nick game." Little things like that, man. Because our fathers were the fathers of the neighborhood, man. So to hear those things that helped my heart, man, heal a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the fact that all my guys have memories, even my college guys, my college brothers, you know, memories of my father when they come to the house, things like that, man. And it kind of softens the blow, but it never
yeah,
goes away.
yeah. But your journey, those were all the people that were in your journey. They were going to get a taste of Ernest Miller. That's not good, because your father was a legit person and he
Mm-hmm.
was around, and but it was like in a very mature way that he carried himself. So that's why those experienced people had of him. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's kind of like, once again, it's like just looking at that, and I'm pretty sure it happens to you with me, like just looking at you hurt because what happened to your father, that's tearing me up because I'm your boy, So, and it's like, so there's an extension of that
Oh,
hurt, man,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
sorrow, man, when somebody passes, I like we were saying, people give you those pseudo answers. Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not going to be okay. That guy's not around. My mom's not around. It's not okay. The world loses because she's not around, as far as I'm concerned. So it's not just a selfish thing. I just know what a value that these people bring. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's the other thing. The value that your dad brought to the table is being honored by the people, like you said, talking about him at the wakes and at the funeral. And that's we all have that with everybody that we kind of know. We have a level of knowing what the history was that we had with them. So
Right.
we start sharing it. And it's that old saying, like with when you're all sitting around and you remember when, and you go spewing, and the stories can be uplifting. And it's odd because now, Les, those stories for me, they bring tears to my eyes, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, I've been laughing about it or whatever. But now, man, it's like I hear, like memories, bring tears to my eyes in that sense
Yeah.
because um and especially when there's somebody has passed, that it does, man, because it's not a bad memory. It's not like I remember the guy and he was holding a gun to my head, was sticking me
Yeah.
up, you know.
But those are also tears of joy in a sense. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because you're thinking about a memory. You know, we could think about being with Big Don up in the Rucker, and George slapped him in the face because he didn't get a rebound, and he said he had, what was it, Mitchum or whatever it was. You know what I
I
mean?
got minimum on my hands,
Yeah,
son,
yeah.
and
There
you'll
we go.
surely say thanks, coach,
That's
I
right.
needed that.
And you know how big Back was. He was a big
Yeah,
one.
you know.
So, but we can look back at that, and right now I'm smiling as much as I miss him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, and it's like it's very odd that you bring him up, man, because the guys that, and I was talking to Cassandra about this the other day, the guys, man, that I know that I played with and against or whatever, um I have an opinion of every single one of them, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all kind of similar to what you just said about Don, a good guy, blah blah blah. and
Mm-hmm.
and that's but that memory, trying to, it does soften the blow because that's how I remember them as.
Right, right, right.
um and it's like, and that but that journey, the journey that we've gone on, man, it's like, um I'm sorry, it's gonna sound like really messed up, man, but sometimes I get kind of like really sick and tired of hearing about the all American, or rather the Hall of Fame guy that went on and played, because they know, like I always say, people, their stories are always out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy to see somebody's Wikipedia page because they made it, and so we've annotated their history. But the people
Right.
that don't make it, we don't their history no one knows. Unless that they're park conversations more than they are something that the papers or the media would cover. They don't give a
Mm-hmm.
rat's ass if you didn't make it, even though your journey was something special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like unimportant to them. So we have to deal with that too because we're in that world. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to look back at your history and say, did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish? Or if I didn't, did I even at least represent it properly? And that brings out some more mental issues because you're carrying that. Your ego is carrying or your
Mm-hmm.
experiences, like even experiences like with your family. And so it's like managing the mental health, man. It bombards you, man, with multiple directions of things that come up. And you know,
You're right. You're right. So, so how did you handle like all that fame and stardom at an early age, and then you know you went to JUCO, and then you went to LIU, and it's like the bar was so high for you, but when we were young like that, and then the fact that you know you had to get a regular job. How
yeah.
did that affect you?
Well, the health thing being in my head, for me
Mm-hmm.
at least, got me to a point where I was always hovering there. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like that voice on my shoulder. So I'm going through it, and oddly enough, all those experiences of having to, like recover and get through, I'm fine with it, because I'm having a good time and I'm not really thinking that, you're a young person and at some point in time this is going to end. So what do I do? I have
Right.
a better chance doing, let's say, overseas or something like that. But how the and so it was a good journey, so to speak, to me. The
Mm-hmm.
JUCO experience was great. Went on. LIU fell in my lap, quite honestly. And that was fine because you're home, that whole conversation.
Right. Right.
But when it was ending, the way that I was treated at LIU, um, it kind of like lit the fire to know that the real world doesn't give a rat's ass about you.
Yes. Yes. That's a rude awakening, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Yep.
and and the funny thing is, I'm gonna throw his name out there. Was told like first day in LIU, John Utenthal said these guys don't give a rat's ass about you. That's what he said. And they turned their back on people so much. And specific, I don't want to get into that, but specifically for me, how it ended was I don't want to be bothered with this anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and so my I guess my future thinking kicked in and said, I have to transition into regular life. And the writing on the wall is, the people that coached us, right? That was one of the things that you had those men. They had
Mm-hmm.
they were had regular lives, our
Right.
fathers. So I'm not mad at that. You know what I mean? I'm not mad at the fact that, I gotta go get a job. That's fine. I'm fine with that. And
Right.
then being involved in the game, knowing what's going on in the community or whatever, but also family. So those things, like morality things, moral things, or like just say the guidance of what one's life should go, and the assumed way of
Uh-huh.
married, three children, whatever the nuclear family process is. Jumping on that train is fine with me, and
Mm-hmm.
just being a dad and a husband, and
Right.
just do whatever. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with coming off the bench. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Basically, and in this case, and I was the water that turned me into the water boy, not coming off the bench. And I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with being the water boy because I'm gonna
Right.
be a good teammate, man. To life. And so that I mean, so and I've always, like I said to you earlier, Leslie, you know this. I always refer to sports to help me make decisions sometimes, man. Um and most of them are just do what's right because be a good teammate.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your mouth closed and pay the mortgage. you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
don't
Yep.
call the mortgage company and complain, man. Just pay the mortgage, keep it moving. Make that money, and that's the other side of it. Do that and live, within your means. Don't try to dunk on Shaq. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shoot a jumper on his ass. I
Mm,
got to make the right decisions, for things, and I just correlate them, and quick thought, boom, and it makes sense to me.
mm, mm,
I could do it a regular way too. I'm not an idiot, but I'm always fighting it, man. But then, of course, also for me, for which I know a lot of people are not the same, like what happens in society, it plays an important part of my thinking, of my psyche.
mm.
Um, the way things are now, I'm so disappointed with this earth, man. It's crazy to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
I feel that. I feel
Yeah,
that.
and like just yeah, just the mere fact you saying I feel that means a lot,
Mm,
because I say that to some people and they're kind of like, "What are you worried about that for?" Right? I'm like, because I'm a citizen. I'm sorry, that's how I am, and you have to give it some thought. You have to be aware of what's going on around you, and I'm not happy. I'm not, and
absolutely. Mm,
um, that once again it goes back to the sports mind. Damn, just be a damn good teammate, man. What are y'all doing?
yeah.
Y'all ain't being
Yeah.
good teammates. Yeah,
Yep.
the people, the powers that be, they're not being good teammates, man. I don't care what anybody says, whatever side you're on, it'll make any difference not being a good teammate, you
Yeah.
know.
That's
And
that's right.
but I mean, but they don't want to hear from me, and I'm a constituent, right? So they're messing with my mental health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real, I mean, what's going on in this society messes with my mental health, man.
And no
You
doubt,
know,
man. Hey, man. Just the fact that you know in my nightly prayers, man, it's all about one of the things that's all about is just some peace in the world, man. Come on, you can't get up in the morning and then without seeing like somebody that shot up a store or whatever, that somebody's just doesn't care about anybody else but themselves and they want to burn
right?
somebody's establishment down. Things like that, man. I just don't understand that. I
Yeah,
don't understand. Just walk away, man. What is so messed up? But then again, we talk about mental health. That's our topic. And these could be some people who have serious mental health issues. The lady today who I saw that she killed her three children. The youngest one was 8 months old, and then she jumped out the window. Now she's paralyzed. I guess she was trying to kill herself, but it was like I guess the third child something happened that snapped in her mind, and then she killed all the kids. Man, that's real. I mean I know there's some feminine stuff that happens hormonally also, but that's all part of the mental health issue.
yeah, yeah. And no one seems to, no one seems to care, man. And that's the truth. The powers
Mm-hmm.
that be, there's so much, just rattling of the mouth and no
Mm-hmm.
action.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and it's always like that. And it's at every level of every space,
Yeah.
of every space.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's like no matter what's going on, there's always the legal side. No matter what's going on, there's always the political side. There's always these pieces. Like I said to a woman the other day, like all of a sudden 1 and 1 don't equal 2 anymore. Some
Right.
things are that simple, and it's not so much that, like you said, maybe that woman had mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that she was not equipped with like the things that I have in me to get through whatever was tearing her down. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like something was tearing her down, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
internally, physically, mentally, hormonal,
Mm-hmm.
outside of her body, whatever case may be. The
Yeah.
the devil, whatever it is,
But,
drugs.
and you know what the sad part is? She actually was reaching out for help from what I heard. Like
Uh,
she had told her husband, I think I'm going to hurt the kids. That should have been like, I'm grabbing my kids and taking them to a hotel with me until somebody can go and get my wife some help.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not even doing that. I'm taking the kids with I'm taking the wife to someone to go get help. If you tell me that, I'm calling 911. I'm
I got.
sorry. I don't care who it is. Like,
I'm
unless
just saying,
if
I'm
yeah,
protecting my kids first.
yeah, no, I understand, but I'm just saying, like the first response, and if I'm talking to somebody's getting ready to attack me, it's like, well, I'm not, when my kids are behind me, initially they're protected. I got to get this person some help because, I'm just saying in that sense, like as I treat her, that person automatically becomes like a possible criminal when they
Hmm.
say something like that because they could be, ready to, like, yo, Les, man, I'm getting ready to go into this bank and rob it. Like, what
Yeah.
am I going to do? Like, and then, I'm just saying, there's two choices. To me,
Hmm.
first, I would do that. I get your point, but she might, even though she reached out less,
Hmm.
she doesn't have the skills. Even in her reaching out, she didn't have the communication skills in the proper place to share the fact that there's a problem.
Right. And who knows if that wasn't the first time she said that.
Right.
Her husband's
Because
like,
we don't
oh,
know the story, right?
yeah, because you know how a mother with three kids, da da da, so he may have poo pooed the whole thing anyway,
Right.
you know, and uh, it's just an ugly thing, man. Let's
Yeah.
just change the subject, man. So I was doing stuff on. I always hear about people with PTSD, man. And I I understood it, but I didn't understand it. But every time 9/11 comes around, I I understand what I think it is, you know. So after being down there and now going through all these health issues because of that time, I I'm a different person. You know, I I don't like to be in crowds. I'm very claustrophobic. I on this September the 12th, the day after the 25th, I guess it is, of the 26th, whatever it is, of the 9/11 attacks.
Right.
Um, they were having a thing at Yankee Stadium from my college because my coach had passed away uh, this past year, and they were doing this whole thing, and it was going to be a nice tribute to him, and we're going to be in a box and everything. And when I spoke to his wife, I explained to her that I said I can't be there. That's the day after. Be around too many people. I'm just not comfortable. And she didn't even know what I had went through.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what I went through because I had talked to him about that. But she just says, "Oh, I didn't know." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll make a contribution, but I just can't." You know. And right now, my stomach is tightening up just talking about this, man.
Yeah. I know
And
that feeling. I
E
know.
man, bro, it's been that just long, man. Still don't even know why I'm alive. It's 25
Yeah.
years, man. But every time I just get into my own little funk, and a few days before, a few days after, man, nobody really bothers me. My family, they know when I'm
Right.
quiet, just leave me alone. I'm good. All my friends that I lost, things like that, man. It's just
Yeah.
and it comes and goes, man. And one day we went down to down the memorial, and they were gonna go down there. I said, "Nah, I'm not going down in a tunnel. I'm not going down there." So
Yeah.
they went, but I think the line was too long. And I was thinking about one of my teammates, Tim O'Brien, and I was looking at the water thing, and I was saying, "Boy, I wonder how is this in alphabetical order or whatever." And I had just happened to look straight ahead, and there was his name right there. And I
Wow.
said, "Thank you." And I said, "Now I can just go sit outside and chill,
Yeah.
and sit on the park bench, man." But it was just so weird that I thought of him, and there it was right there. You know,
Mm.
this was my
Yeah, that
college.
PTSD for that specifically. Um I'm yeah, these aren't laughing, but I that day, man, I was the craziest day I've ever seen in my entire life, man. So
Mm-hmm,
in my lifetime, always, it's like, my dad used to say that was our Pearl Harbor. That was
mm-hmm,
our Pearl Harbor, right? So, but that was like a domestic attack, so to speak. And what it did emotionally for a lot of people, um, it's like it's really, really hard to deal with, man. And it's funny because to this day, that's the day after smell.
Yeah.
down there because I went there. I went there the day after. Not the day
Mhm.
after. I'm sorry, I take that back. I went the Saturday after 9/11 because Cassandra had to work.
That was a
So I
Tuesday.
drove her to Brooklyn and we took the train
Right.
over.
Mm-hmm.
It blew me out of the water so much. I got all the way up to Burger King,
Mm-hmm.
on what's that, Greenwich and Trinity, right? And Liberty, right? Greenwich and Liberty. That Burger King and the where the firehouse was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right across the street. I got that close, man.
You was able to get that far.
Yeah. I went, you know what I did? I cut across the cemetery. They wouldn't
Oh,
let nobody through. I went through the cemetery. Nobody
cemetery
nobody
on
knew that
Trinity.
way. Because
Trinity.
I used
Yeah.
to go that way to go to Rector Street
Right.
to
Right.
work there.
Right. Right.
So I went down there and there was nobody on Greenwich. So I walked and they were like, there was a paramedic, National Guardsman, a police officer, and a fireman. I swear, standing right on the corner in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the street, right, like right on the pothole.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked up and the smell got so much stronger than
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
than when I was on Broadway. It was so strong, and I kind of like I flipped out, man. I came to tears, man. I gave the fireman a hug, man, and I turned around and walked away. They didn't say no words to me or nothing. It just
Yeah.
bugged me out, man. I said I got to get out of here. I left, went and got Amanda, and brought her back to see it. I swear I
Mm-hmm.
did. But I'm just saying, but that experience, that trauma of seeing that, it hurt me because that's my home. Da da da. And then people, like you said, I know they got, were killed and might have got injured. People we know that policemen, firemen,
Yeah.
that we're cool with, like Lacey,
Yeah.
firemen,
Yeah.
So it just, and then just seeing it from a distance, and guy that I talk to on the phone every morning that worked for Cantor, man. Every morning I talk to this guy, man. He
Mm-hmm.
died. And I
Yeah.
talked to him then. He was in the building. He's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, get out of the building. Didn't
Yeah.
make it. Peter Fry.
Yeah.
That's his name.
One of my nephews, man, that's a Secret Service, because they had some offices in that building, and that's where they used to keep like a lot of the drug paraphernalia, all that kind of stuff in there. And he got there and jumped out of his car, and that's when the first building fell. And he told me, he said, "Yo, Uncle, I just started running the other way. I don't even know how I got out of there, you know." And that's scary, man. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And people don't understand that it's kind of like, well, some people do because they, dealing with tornadoes, they understand. They understand. And we understand the cause and effect of different things. One's nature, the other things, done by humans. We get that. But I'm just saying the trauma of loss that happens so abruptly like that, and the fear that it puts in you, that the PTSD is real.
yeah,
But they don't treat military people properly when it comes to PTSD. What makes you think that civilian population from something that happens, they're even concerned? Somebody could be in
right,
a car accident, PTSD. No one
yeah,
gives a rat's ass.
yeah,
What the hell happened to me? Are you crazy?
yeah.
I cannot, like I always say, I can't get it out of my head. So
That's right.
I
That's right.
have PTSD for this. And I told a lady, I was getting tired yesterday when I was sitting there telling this lady, and she's like, "What happened
Mm,
to you?" I told her the story, like she started crying. Man, we're sitting in Firestone. I am not kidding, but it was like, yes, but look at you. It's just like, da 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 da. You get
yeah,
around like you. I would have never known,
yeah,
and but I'm like, you have no idea what I go through daily, man. Like the fear of that pain coming again. That's that. Well, I don't even get past anything else versus
right.
just the fear of the pain that I
Yeah,
had in my chest. Man, you kidding me? Because that's signaling the possibility of the end for me. It's funny because I'm gonna get a warning if I die from what I have. I'm gonna get a
mm,
warning. I'm gonna get something's gonna tell me. So
right, right.
um, that is just crazy. It's in my head.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like
understandably though, man. Come on.
huh?
I said understandably. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but that's just one of many other things that might cause PTSD for you. Any health scare, anyone's health scare is their
Mm,
own. Some of them are minor. You get a bloody nose, it scares the hell out of you. But when it dries up, and before you know it, you're back, doing whatever.
Right.
But when it's life threatening, man, and then the aftermath, and then the rehab, and then the pills, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, um, and then just even just going into the hospital and the things that you see in there, man, it just, yeah, I mean, I have a heart, man, so I feel it's horrible, man. It's horrible,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I can't get into specifics, but I was in there, last week, and it wasn't for me, but I was in there and seeing the other people in the waiting room.
Mm,
It's scary, man. It really is. For others, I'm saying, I'm looking at a person, they look like they're in trouble, when you
mm.
see that, you know what I'm saying? And so, and that's in everywhere in the hospital, no matter where you go, you
Yeah.
know.
And you're so right though. And like whenever I go to the cancer clinic, man, I'm looking around at people that you would never know that something's wrong with them. But the reason why you're here is the same reason why I'm here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's something going on with cancer, and you know, but everybody looks different.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the good part is that you look okay because you're following up on things. As opposed to people who just say F it. A lot of people just say, man, fuck it. Whatever happens, happens.
Right.
So
You know, and
I,
that, but in both situations, you're still gonna have PTSD. The people that say fuck it, they're dealing with it too.
absolutely.
And it's tough, man, because the only thing that you can do is like sharing the experience with them, like sitting in that waiting room. It's just like camaraderie
Mm,
that we're all going through, and you can sense it in them. I've only had one experience where a guy um was like the most unhappy person I've ever seen. And it was when we were in rehab, and
mm,
he had a stroke, and he was fighting tooth and nail to do any of the things that they make you do when you have a stroke in the training room.
okay.
Um, and it's like, but that his, see how he's dealing with it's the first time I saw someone deal with his PTSD in that manner. He's
Mm,
mad with the world. It was everybody else's fault why he was like that.
mm,
And that's why you try to refrain from being like that yourself, because that comes knocking on your door too. But you want to blame somebody,
right.
no matter what you have, man. You want to, like, who did this to me?
Mm,
Why is this happening to me? There's a lot of questions you have, and
yeah.
it's you don't have, if you don't have people around you to help you through it. um I don't particularly really care for somebody saying when they respond saying I'm not a professional, like I saying I can't help you. Is that,
Mm,
hey, I need to talk to somebody. Talk
right.
to me.
Right.
Talk to
Right.
me. That's all I need. I don't need you to diagnose me. Just lend me your ear, and I'm lending you mine. Like, share, like, this,
Yeah.
and that works though. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but to me that works.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's why you were talking about I'm like an introvert. You talk to anybody, but see, I talk a lot, man. It's just me and you. We talk. I just know the people that I talk to. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And sometimes when I'm out there driving and there's somebody in there, I could tell them a little bit of my story. But I think one of the things that I wish I could do was still play basketball because it goes back to the beginning, right? Basketball was a solace for us in our community. It kept us out of trouble. It kept us from, you know, doing things that we shouldn't have been doing, right? And I think basketball is the only thing that I love that doesn't have a heart and pump blood. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love basketball, man. So
Yeah.
when I stopped playing, I think it took something away from me,
Oh
and
yeah.
I think just being able to go out on the court by myself and just shoot 100 jumpers, man, get a little sweat. That made a difference. Or
Hmm.
playing me and you, as yo, you bust your ass. Let's go 1-on-1.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Something
Yeah.
like that, man. that probably took away a lot of stress over the years, man. And just speak to that because think about what you've gone through in your whole life, man. The tough times, and so you say you have a bad game. What do? You get back in the gym, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that's how you work it off.
I think that's one of the keys, man. Like you said, you work
But
it off.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know.
So I think basketball, all this is connected, man. Basketball is part of our lives, man. And it had a lot to do with our health up until a certain point. You know, that this particular sport. Other things that we can do to help with mental health. Just getting some air. Taking a walk with your wife, things like that. That all those things help. They're refreshing, but nothing is like being in a game and looking across to somebody, and in your mind, you're looking at them saying, "I'm getting ready to bust your ass."
Yeah. But even
You
but
know,
you don't even
I
get
miss
to the
that.
yeah, but you don't even get to the point. You don't even have to get to the point of busting their ass. You're just being on the court and knowing I'm going to give this guy a back pick or I'm going to throw this bounce pass. Like the things that you do when you're on the court, those are the things that you miss. Believe it or not, I'm telling you. But putting your hand up, man, when somebody's shooting a jump on you, and whether he makes it or not, you turn, you look, your boy gets the rebound or takes it out, and you're running back down the court. That those were stress relievers, man. I
But,
mean,
but
that
that's
whole
that's
mhm.
number two in my book. The first part is the one I like.
Oh, but I'm busting there. Oh yeah, or you looking at the outcome, and yeah. But that comes without saying. But the whole thing is like you're right, man. It's like, but that's having an outlet,
That's true, though.
you know,
That's true.
and and the outlet could be a lot of different things, man. And like now, my outlet is like I'll go and I'll start looking for articles. I don't, and I have
Yeah.
a basket. I got a basket, man, and like I don't got. I got my foot on a basketball right now. My leg is on a basketball right now. And I got
Mm-hmm.
20 balls in this closet, right? There's 20 balls in there. And I miss being in the gym. Something fell
Mm-hmm.
through that would have brought me back into the gym just for coaching and training, and it fell through. So and thank goodness it did because I can't commit physically.
Right. Right.
I had to be honest with
Yeah.
myself, and that's once again, talking to, believe it or not, talking to Amanda, that's, it's kind of like that, yay and nay. Like she'll be agreeable or just say, maybe it's time to just
Mm-hmm.
leave it alone. And once again, like you said,
Right.
like not being around it, what do I fill that mental space with? It's not the physical part we
Right.
know we can't do. We're in our 60s, but there's a mental space as well. And it's like that's been taken away from me as well. So what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do, no one wants anymore, you know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because the game in itself has changed. So
That's
it's kind
true.
of
That's
like,
very.
yeah, and the only way that I could gain control over my situation is that if I had my own, that the space that I need, da 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 da. But
Mm,
I miss the game so much, man. It's ridiculous, man. It really
yeah.
is. Just in my mind, thinking of shooting jump shots. I'm not gonna hold my arms up, but I'll never be able to do that ever
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
um, and like you said, a lot of times, man, back in the day when things were bad, and I never forget, man. This is really crazy. I had a wisdom tooth pulled out. We had a game in the Rucker.
Mm,
And Les, I'm telling you, the day before, man, my mouth was hurting so bad, man. It was so much
mm,
pain. I hate toothaches, man. And the guy was like this, guy on Fulton Street was our dentist, and man, he didn't use no Novocaine or nothing. Man, this guy just went in
mm,
there with like a wrench, man, and like pull a tooth out, man. I think I probably had my best game of that summer, man, in the Rucker in that tournament, like that day, because it's like
mm.
it just it lit a fire in my body, man, at the moment, man. And so
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
know how the game, how that what they like. I was so looking forward. It would take my mind off of the pain, da da da.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the game gave me so much, and it was so there all the time for me. Win, lose, or draw,
That's
that was
right.
my woman, so to speak. You know what I mean? The game was like
Yo,
your
man, come on,
girlfriend.
man. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yes,
And
yes,
and
yes.
so when it and so
Yo,
when
matter of fact,
go ahead.
hmm, no, I was telling you that same summer, man, when we was playing up in the Rucker. I don't know if you remember when it coming up from my basement. There was a light switch, and it was a metal thing. It was kind of open, and I came up the steps, and I got it so tall that my shoulder caught it, and it ripped a big old piece in my shoulder, in my left shoulder, and I was supposed to get like butterfly stitches and shit like that, man, which meant I wasn't gonna be able to play. So I just told I said, no, just patch it up, cause I don't want to miss no games, man. We was playing in the Rucker, man. Come on, man. I guess it was like 16, you know,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
but that's
now
funny because
I
you
still
do
have.
anything, huh?
Yo, but I still have a scar there, right? Because I guess what is it? When the skin grows out, what do they call that?
The keylog,
Oh man, I can't remember.
the
Huh?
keylog scar.
Keloid, it
Yeah,
keloid up,
keloid. Excuse me, I said it wrong.
and
Yeah,
it grew out, But I should have got the stitches because then it wouldn't happen. But I was like, fuck that, man. I'm ready
yeah,
to. I need to
because
play. I
you
need.
needed that, man. And it's like it just and took it. You probably weren't even thinking about it after a while. First 2 minutes of the game, your first rebound or whatever, you keep it moving, and the pain might come back later on, but that's when we
Yeah,
we're hanging then, so we're good. But it's very funny, man, how that it just does so many things for you, man. It's like I never forget, man. Also, man, one of the games with Colonel Young, man, and I brought this girl with me, man, and she was a horror, man. I must. And it was my birthday. It was my birthday, man, and it was like it was a strange thing, man, because usually we go hang afterwards, after the game. But it was like I was with her, so I had to, I went took her out because it was my birthday, um, and it was like it interfered in my experience, of like being with the
mm-hmm.
fellas in the game. It wasn't the same. It was my birthday, and it's like I
Yeah,
figured I'd hang with the fellas. We won, yeah, yeah, and I had the girl with me, and so it's like the what normally happens, that celebration that we go through, like as a team and travel as a team. Um, that even though she was a cool person and all, but I dropped her like a bad cold because she was interfering. She wanted to go. So you
right.
can't mess with my B-ball, man. you
That's it,
know,
man. That's the truth.
yeah,
That's the
man, for
truth.
real. Because that's that the first love, man, is that ball, man. I'm sorry. It's
That's it. That's it.
um yeah,
That's
for
it.
real, man. But it's like it's very
And
funny
that's
how I was saying about me watching Ryan Clark and them talk about PTSD and
mm-hmm.
um how the passion of that you have as a professional athlete. It's like it's your job. You're hired to do this. Who's hired to go and just like the average person is not hired to do that. And
Right.
um but nobody gives you instructions, and no one tells you what it's going to be like after the fact when it's over, of what
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to need to satisfy that hunger for that
Yeah.
competitive aspects, and you don't get it from anything else. And everyone kind of like understands that part. You got to go back to regular life in society because you're now blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the nonsense. But you've created a monster, and then you
Yeah.
throw them in the junkyard now.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because they can't compete anymore. But no one cares about them, and it's the same thing with military people. They get treated like garbage, even though and the
Yeah.
game, they talk a good game. The process of everything talks a good game
Mm-hmm.
about how well it is. It's like a guarantee. What good is a guarantee? And that guarantee is
Yeah.
not any better, or have any more power than the person that made the guarantee. And you don't
True.
follow. People don't follow through. With the with
Mm-hmm.
the you promise. So that's and so that's like the saying, like from Sims, right? department store. Educated consumer is your best customer. You got to know what
customer.
you're going into,
Yeah, yeah,
and these kids now that are playing, the expectation because of getting the NIL money, even before you get there, the the things that I see, and I'm sorry to say this, but I'm not happy, especially in New York. You got middle school age kids playing, and there's a guy with a microphone walking around on the court, like play by playing the game,
right,
and
right, right,
I just that's not what they need. That's like in math
mm,
class, a clown comes in and he's doing tricks, and then a band guy playing a tuba. Like you're interfering with the lesson, with the learning lesson.
right,
A
right.
12-year-old, a middle school kid doesn't need someone commentating the game in a park in Brooklyn, New York. I'm sorry. It's not needed.
Mm,
It should. Blessed high school kids don't need it. And I'll give them a pass because of the way the game is now. But middle school kids don't need that. And
yeah,
but
yeah,
back to the point, man, it's like the promises of the tools that we're going to get because we're playing. It doesn't make me happy seeing what I'm seeing. The game has changed. The information is not being shared with these kids. How are they going to deal with the PTSD of not playing anymore whenever it ends?
yeah, yeah.
Are they going to be prepared with other things? Are they going to, I mean, are they, everyone thinks that they're going to get an NIL deal.
Right,
And I
right.
guess, but when we were playing, everybody thought they were going to get a scholarship.
Yeah,
But in
yeah.
actuality, there were men out there saying, son, you're not good enough.
That's right. That's
And
right.
yeah, yo, true.
Reality is a motherfucking yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the other thing that you have people around you that were adults as growing up that help you
Mm,
deal with, the rejection of things. Sometimes you're going to lose a game. Sometimes you're not going to get picked to be on that all-star team. You
mm,
know, that it happens. Sometimes you're going to get cut from a team. That can happen to you, and but they're not prepared because they've been given.
well, how would you know that motherfucking
I don't know.
you
I'm
getting
just saying
yeah,
because I
I
talk to
come with
kids, man, and they come to me. No, I know because of the like I was
you
saying,
know
the
what
people around. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
definitely.
saying.
Well, actually, I think I did. I might have got cut once, man. The Empire State Games, man. They
I got 2 times for my high school.
huh?
I said I got cut 3 times from my high school team,
Yeah,
man. So I
but that
understand.
feeling, but the PTSD of that, dealing with that the rejection. How did you deal? You kept playing the game. You turned somewhere else to play the game.
I went I went and played for Mr. Williams role and was
Yeah,
killing, man. I didn't even give a fuck, man.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You
And
know?
that's what, and you said it earlier about how being younger, how much easier things were dealing with because you would say, there were other things, places you can go and play at,
Yeah, yeah,
and, no wine is good at before it's time, but that's only based on the guy that opens the bottle. And eventually the right person opened the bottle and said, shit, this is some good wine. I'll sign that
yeah,
Les Miller
yeah,
guy up. I ain't no
yeah, yeah.
fool. Finally, you know what I'm saying? And that's sometimes that takes you in another direction. But
Mm-hmm.
and you know what is funny? How did that prepare you for finally making it? What were you experiencing when you finally made the team? And if you look back at the 2 years prior, not in their decision, but in what you were doing, playing with Mr. Williams, and now you're finally there. How did you deal with that?
I just knew that I was going to just show them what they was missing for the other 3 years. That was it. You know, I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't have been on that team. And the fact that Kelvin Hicks only played 1 year, also that's sacrilegious, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so I I
back to
just knew
back.
that once I made the team that I was going to do my thing. You know,
Mm,
and that was it. I just wanted to go to college, man. I wanted to go to college and not have to burden my family. You know, so that was my motivation.
right.
You know,
And it's
yeah.
funny because you in other words, you still had the drive to still try to accomplish what one of the dreams that you might have had for for yourself, and you didn't give up. There were resources around you that kept you motivated, and as you still grew and developed as well. um and oddly enough, also your circle, they all knew the wrong that
Mm-hmm.
was there, and when the wrong was righted by whomever, you know um it ended up proving the fact that there was something wrong with this bottle. There's something
Well,
wrong here,
I'm gonna tell
man.
you something. I'm gonna tell you a quiet sidebar to that, right? So I did get a little frustrated, right? And you remember how we used to like to play football, sewer to sewer, and I always
Right.
had good hands, right? So I told my father, I said, you know what, maybe I'll go out for the football team. And he said, and you, as big as you are, you think because you can catch the ball, they're gonna put you at wide receiver or something like that? They're gonna put your big ass on the line,
Yes, sir.
okay? And the first time you're on the line, them guys gonna go after your knees, man, because they're open. He said, look, try out for the basketball team again. He said, remember that leather coat that you wanted? He said, if you make the team, I'll get you that leather coat. And that was a deal my father made with me going into my senior year. So I got the black leather coat from D Street because I made the team, man.
But
Yeah,
that's
that was my
funny,
side
man, because
motivation,
that's
man.
funny because you were going to get it no matter what. I mean that you were going to get the
Yeah,
spot in
that's
the
true.
team no
That's,
matter what. Because the right people
yeah.
are in place right there. And but just dealing with that roller coaster like that and that experience, man, it's like I always say to people, um, you can't give in to the decisions. Even if I make the decision and don't pick you, that's not an endorsement for you to give up. That's an endorsement for you to go back to the drawing
Right,
board and come back and prove me wrong.
right, right.
And don't give up. That's it, man. And but once again, the correlation of that training and that teaching, is like now after being ill and things changing in my life, I'm not giving
Mm-hmm.
up, man. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's like those things are embedded in you. And Pete, like I said earlier in this conversation, we know the short, stories of everyone's journey to some degree. Everyone has their story, but those stories are not readily available to people, of people's perseverance to get through certain things.
Mm-hmm.
People, playing, having a great career, and end up being, I don't know, owning like five Denny's or something, or just doing
Right,
something
right.
good in their life after the
Yeah.
fact. Nobody knows about the guys that don't make it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like really weird because I'm having a conversation with somebody who's like, you know, when you pull somebody up, you know, you just keep and you're standing, and you're the one pulling everybody up. You're strong enough to do that. During your adolescence, you're the one doing the work, you're getting all that. But as you're pulling people up, they're going on and they're going
Mm-hmm.
past you, and they're going and doing things. And by the time, for whatever reason, there's always people that are going to get left behind because you can only
Right.
take so many people. But you couldn't have gotten over my shoulders if I didn't help you there, or if I wasn't there, and correlating that to a sport. And it's no disrespect to the guys that have made it, but there was guys on their team that were good players during that time frame, and their stories, they need to be told.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why I do what I do. It's like I don't do a Hall of Fame. I'm not doing that. That's just the top 20 guys. So what? It's
Yeah.
20 guys, you
Right.
know. But those 20, but five of those 20 guys, everybody's story is different. And you have to respect the ones that, didn't make it, because they might have opened the door for you or helped you through. And that's real important to me, to value
Oh,
everybody through the process. You know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
when you get rewarded things, and funny in the SBs, And you're hearing things people saying, and that one of the biggest things people do in all cases, the Academy Awards, whatever award system, you always recognize that people help you get there.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to professional athletes, they don't go deep enough in there. They talk a lot of, I mean, no disrespect, I said, but I evaluate their speeches, and their speeches go in some directions, but they're not recognizing, their teammate from high school. I never heard anybody recognize their teammates from high
Mm-hmm.
school, who they were, and I'm just saying, I mean, and or their teammates in college. Hey, my roommate from college, we used to always, and then we had aspirations, blah blah blah. You got to recognize the people that were there with you. That's how that then for me, that's important. I don't know how anybody else feels. I really don't give a rat's ass. I know for me, I have to recognize, everybody. So it's like, well, like just talking about George Merton's team. How do I like talk about two or three guys? The whole doggone team gets respect from me. Even little Jeff Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the world doesn't go that way, but and there's PTSD with that. Guys that don't make it, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. I mean I know my situation is a little different, but it still hurt. It hurt. You can't tell me that guys that you played with that possibly could have, at least gotten drafted with some of the people that came out in the draft class, that just like, I played
Mm-hmm.
against that guy, he's garbage,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't understand that, you know. That the mere fact that how the ones who are left behind are treated, and they're left, then that's it. They don't, don't talks about it. It's like no different than, the junkyard. Junkyard's got a bunch of cars in it. I ain't none of them work, but there's a bunch of,
Oh, and at one point they were good, right?
yeah. At one point they were good, yeah. And that's the same. And then
Yeah.
oddly enough, that's the same kind of treatment that the elderly get. At some point in
Yes.
time, they were valued person. Now look at them; they're
Yeah.
in a nursing home. And,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, and how they're treated. That's trauma, man, to me as well, man. I experienced that, man. Twice, well, actually
Mm-hmm.
three times. It's horrific.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nursing homes are horrific to me. I'd start crying every time I went. I'm serious. I was going every weekend seeing my mom every Sunday, and I go in there, I'm crying, man. Couldn't deal with it, man. When I went to see my mom, I was crying. And my mother-in-law's sister, she's still with us. She's in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go anymore. I told Cassandra, I'm not going. I'm not going to see her. I can't do it. Can't, man. It's the trauma of everything of life. Sometimes things you're willing to deal with, right? And to fight through it. Like, let me fight this, PTSD. That's what we're talking about, mental health. But some things is kind of like I can't battle that. Some things you just can't fight, and so I stay away from it. And I'll hide, and that's another tool for
Yeah, well,
PTSD.
they say you pick your battles, right?
Yeah,
You pick your
mm,
battles.
yeah.
You
But
know,
that's the
the
other
ones that
thing
you
with
can.
PTSD, Les. This is the other thing, bro. Sometimes hiding, man. I hide a lot. Don't want to be someone to people.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me be, you know. Let me just get my thoughts together. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get my mental state. Let me control that, and get it together. And Cassandra knows it. Sometimes it's just I don't want to go nowhere. I just leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave me be. And I go through this. I go through it more often than not. Um, and it's hard, man. I'm telling you, it's hard, man. I get through it, and then it's in the past, but I um I have a hard time, and a lot of people don't understand that, or they don't know. Eric's okay. No, I'm not. That's bullshit. I'm not okay. I'm really not. And I'm aware of that, and I just it's kind of like you can't stop talking about it, and even my concern for others, man. When I be talking to you, man, I'm like, yo, man, you all right, man? Just
Yeah.
let me know what's up, man. You all right? Um, some people I just can't do that with. I just got to leave them alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wish I could, but they don't handle it well when you ask.
Right,
You know,
right, right.
and that's the other thing you got to deal with. Like when it comes to people in the circle, some people don't accept that there's something wrong, and they get upset. Like, why are you asking? Like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, man. Did you see that game last night? It changed the subject, because they're not
Yeah,
ready.
I'm telling you, right?
But they're not ready,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. And
yeah.
so you have to even deal with the PTSD of the people in your village, you know. Because
Mm-hmm.
you're because
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to experience them in that fashion, and
Yeah,
even
yeah.
strangers. You don't know what that guy's going through in that car next to you.
Right.
You have no idea, man. And plus there's a lot of hatred running around out here, man. So just have
Too much hatred, man.
yeah, just
It's
just
a,
having to deal with that, man, it just blows my mind, man. It really
yeah,
does.
man. Yo, that's why a lot of times you just gotta put your blinders on when you're out there in the street, man.
Yeah,
You know, because you don't know what somebody else is going through, man. And
yeah. Mm.
you can trigger them. It's like, yo, what you looking at? Oh shit. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? The
No, you're
fuck.
right. You're right. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like and it's like sometimes I open my mouth. So that's, that could create a problem, but you're right. It's kind of like the things that you don't know what somebody's going through, and um I guess there's a lot of hate going on out there, so you don't know what
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
thinking. And even you having a conversation with somebody who, their spouse is seeing you talking to them, and they get mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
saying crazy things happen. And
That's
because it's
right.
just
That's right.
an anniversary of actually a shooting here at a
Mm-hmm.
Lowe's that when we first moved here, Les, was from like some madness like that. A guy came in the place, his wife worked at Lowe's, and got into an argument with her and shot her in the head
Damn.
right there in front of
Wow.
everybody. You know,
Shit.
yeah, man. And yeah, so you don't know, and it's like everybody. Like, she was like the happiest, is a happiest person. That you ever
Mm-hmm.
like that work there. It's like the head of this, all of the ladies at the register, and Filipino
Mm-hmm.
and pretty girl, and and then he shot himself in the head. you
You should have
know,
did that first. You
yeah,
should have
yeah,
did that
exactly. But it's like, but just but the trauma that and I know a couple people that still work there. This is 20 years ago, and it's like this. I talked to them, and it's like sticks in their head, man, and people
Yeah,
that live
I
around
can.
here that remember it. You know,
Yeah, I can understand that. I can
yeah,
understand.
but it's just summarizing it all, man. It's like the PTSD, mental health issues. We have to find creative ways or normal ways, whatever it is, whatever's in your toolbox to fight through, what life throws at you sometimes. And um, they can be things that create the resolution to the problem or that ease the pain, whatever it is. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I think that get out of this conversation is that you have to talk to somebody,
Yeah,
or people. You have to express yourself and say when something's not right, and don't just give up on that. If after saying
right.
that, that's not the resolution of fixing the problem. Is saying, hey, I got a problem. You have to commit to
Mm-hmm.
fixing that problem. Because especially when it's a mental health issue. Um, and
Right.
that's I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I think that that's probably one of the most important things, is to express yourself and seek help in the sense of speaking to somebody, whether it be friend, family, or a professional. There's nothing wrong with
Nothing.
having that problem. Um, there has to be
That's
something
right.
that you can do to fix it. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I
How do you
agree.
feel about that?
Yeah, man. And one thing that I failed to mention that I really miss is just the camaraderie around a basketball team, being on a team, and the sportsmanship being around um, another team. You know what I mean? Being able to go up to somebody who you try to bust their butt, and they played a good game and we lost, to be able to be man enough to like shake their hand and say good game. You know what I mean? I miss that kind of thing. When I see it's so rare now that when I do see somebody like picks an opponent off the floor or go reach out to congratulate somebody after a game, I almost brings tears to my eyes because
Mm,
it's so rare now. It
right,
is so rare. And that used to be commonplace. That's how we were brought up, man.
right. That
And
was common. That was
that's,
commonplace, man. Yeah.
yeah,
And there was
that's
some
what's
there was
missing
some
for
outliers. There was some outliers, but for
yeah,
the most part, it was
yeah.
more that we saw people do what you're saying. Um, and it's a different mindset. And I think there's a lot of anger.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's not real anger though. It's
Mm-hmm.
orchestrated. You're and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times athletes that play, young players orchestrate the way that they conduct themselves because it's what what's needed or what everybody wants to see. It makes you credible or whatever. Other than making the basket, it's that other sidebar stuff that you think
Mm-hmm.
that is necessary to do. And that's kind of like just use this as an example. Going to like the Benihana, so when they're tossing the egg up and doing all that stuff, cooking your food. I don't need all of that. That's fanfare is not necessary. Is the food good? I'm eating it. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. And that's if people are putting things into the game. That's why the things that you're talking about, less is gone. It's
Mm-hmm.
replaced sportsmanship
Yeah.
because now you're gladiator type kick a man when he's down. It's kind of like, you look into the crowd to say, what should I do? And they all do like this, thumbs down. So you step on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then just the lack of respect for the establishment of the game,
That's right. That's right.
you know, and I'm going to throw this out there, say what you want. That's the disrespect that Caitlin Clark gives towards people in the game that are administering the game, like referees, that I've
Mm-hmm.
seen her actions, is not. It dismays me and it upsets me that
Mm-hmm.
there's no space for that. That's an entitled type of mentality that I'm Caitlin Clark, so you got to make a call and you run up in that referee's face like you want to fight them. I don't, and she's not trying to fight them, but she's pushing herself on them. It's like I'm an adult. Like whoa, like I don't, and that's that lack of respect, and guys are doing it too. So I don't
Yeah.
even why I can mention a bunch of guys' names, but hers sticks out to me because she shouldn't be conducting herself like that.
Right. Right.
Um, and especially when she's such a great player. It's like this to me, it's unheard of.
There's a need to do that.
Exactly. And that's what you like you said, it's like that part is missing. It made the game so much more competitive. And it made it competitive.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, kick you when you're down or trip you. And, it's like you don't see any sportsmanship happening. And that's and it's funny since we're talking about PTSD and mental health issues. We're talking about mostly after our playing days are over, or that
Mm-hmm.
type of thing, and dealing with those things as adults now. But these guys, they're doing it while they're playing. They're having PTSD issues while they're playing. And that's and
Yeah.
that's and that's and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
and it's infiltrated itself that they can't focus anymore. Skill sets are not
Mm-hmm.
being worked on. And you go to another country though, and you look at how the foreign players are playing, their skill sets are still being worked on because they're still focused on that camaraderie and all those other things and basic fundamental understandings of the game, physically and mentally. So
Yeah.
we have a long
Right.
way to
Right.
go to
Right.
fix those problems there. And um it's going in a bad direction. And that's funny because if you still saw it less, you probably wouldn't be so adamant about your feelings about missing that because you see it. But being that you don't
Mm-hmm.
see it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, dang man, this is the part of the game that I loved. you know
Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with like somebody getting dunked on and the guy's like, okay, you got me, but I'm gonna go back and get you back.
Yeah,
Instead of
yeah.
that, I'm standing there putting on a 20-second performance, dance
Hmm.
moves and everything, and plus I'm landing like I was angry. And it's
Right,
like
right.
making a basket. I don't show emotions for one basket. I'm having a hard time with that. I make a jumper and I
Yep.
show all these emotions, or I dunk on somebody and I showing all these emotions. Like I got 15 more baskets I'm trying to make, and that one is
Yeah,
over.
that's right.
So,
And I'm trying to get back on defense so you don't score.
right. Yeah.
Shit.
Because I'm supposed to be, playing the
Yeah,
game
yeah,
holistically. I'm supposed to be, focusing on both sides of the court. And these
yeah.
guys don't. They don't play D. Everyone reaches, and you look at the younger age categories, and there's a lot of videos out showing AU games now. Yeah, everyone's reaching. When you get beat, you get beat. Especially if you're a guard and you get beat,
Mm,
you give up. You it's kind of
yeah,
like you
yeah.
you you back off because there's nothing you can do. You don't do anything anymore. And that's why guys are getting like free range, dunks on people because that perimeter defense, you only play it there. Once that guy
Yeah.
gets past you, they give up. And when you
Mm,
watch the game and you see bad decisions because it breeds a lot of negativity into the game. Then you watch a guy
uh,
that's had foreign experience and he's steady. Even the pro summer pro league, you look at some players and you can see that they're steady players. But
right.
and plus that's a little different because now they're trying to earn a spot.
Yeah.
So that's so they're definitely trying to be the consummate athlete. But you make the team and you get some playing time, you're gonna start acting like an idiot too.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no, and that's how it is. It's kind of like when it's time to sign a new contract, you're giving your all. But once you get that contract, man, your numbers fall off, and you know, and these are the
Yeah.
things that constantly happen that we see, and it's really hard to try to like make sense of all of this, like with the mental aspect of it, and for us, what we missed, um, and the fact that it's not around anymore, not only
Mm-hmm.
for us, but the youngins, they're not getting that same type of training, so their journey is going to be missing, the enjoyment of it all. And I feel kind of I don't have any answers as to why it's like that, or what the solution is, but um, I just one thing I think that they should start with, the manipulation of these young players, and how that is because they're definitely being treated differently than we are, and that's because of the money. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't fight, and none of us can fight that money battle. You know,
Yeah.
I had a
No.
conversation with a parent yesterday, and she was complaining. $600 on a weekend trip, and we've been going on a trip for the past 3 weeks. And that's not even counting the hotel stay for the weekend. And
Mm,
my son is an average player, so she's shelling out all of that money. It's just crazy, man. You know, and the kid ain't getting no
yeah.
better. Still missing jump shots. So no, but that's how it is, man. The process is not. They're not teaching anymore. No one teaches the game. You can go on YouTube,
I'm
guys.
still missing layups.
Huh? What you say?
Yep. No, I was agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
You,
It's
you, you hear
really.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's nuts, man. And so I don't know. I don't know how to fix this problem. I mean, but you see it, and everybody's complains about it. So it's something that I don't think I want to deal with that. You
I
know.
know what you. But yo, man, let's wrap this up, man.
Yeah, man,
So,
definitely. But yo, point of the matter today is like, guys, pay attention to your mental health, please. You need to talk to somebody, reach out. Any of our friends, that we're always available. But it's important that you guys pay attention to these things, and We wish you all the best wishes and take care of yourselves. You know, you got anything there with that, Les?
No, man, that was it. That sounded good, man. We
Mm,
we're definitely here. So you can reach out to us. You know how to get to us, and I hope this man somebody, just one person, man.
right. And it's important for us all to understand that, because when things get rough, man, believe me, you need somebody to talk to. You know, so I want to appreciate
Yep,
you all listening to our show. Hopefully, man, we'll be back on the air with some new shows coming forward. So everybody, take care. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in, and please continue to tune in to the ENL show. Take care, everyone.